This is Studio 809 Podcasts, informing, connecting, and empowering the residents of the Pikes Peak region.
BNLO Season 2 is sponsored by Blackpackers, Economic Equity in Outdoor Education and Recreation. This is badly needed and long overdue, a controversial podcast about Colorado Springs. It's controversial because it makes sense. Let me adjust my microphone just a little bit. I'm your host, Nick Raven. How are you doing? This is the 10th episode of Season 2. This is the season finale. It's exciting. It's bittersweet at the same time. We finally reached the 10th episode, the last episode of the season. So, on our show today, we have Brian Tryon, the co-founder of Shutter and Strum, which is an art center over in Nob Hill, actually. I met him when he was the curator over at the Garfield Gallery under the Community Prep School, which is like Willamette in Nevada, I think it is. But it's 2 blocks north and east of, or maybe it's Weber. 2 blocks north and east of where Oric is now. That's where I met him. I actually, I went over there to get his contact information when I was at the Indy, to get his listings for like First Friday and stuff, what art was going to be exhibited. And so I went and met him in person so I could get that. And we've been able to chat ever since. It's been 2.5 years, something like that. So they had a falling out. He and the community prep school, he co-founded Shutter and Strum. So they just moved over. He's a teacher. He's been at Bemis. He teaches at the MAC, the Manitou Art Center, if you don't know. And I got to go into the building as they were building it. The same one that's What's Left Records. It's like What's Left Records, and then here's Shutter and Strum with the Disruptor Gallery. And it's all one building. You can just go and see it all. And First Fridays there are a jam. It's just a few buildings down from Platt Collections / Platt Furniture. So if you need a place to hang out on First Friday, that's one of the best. And they have some incredible art in there. But we have a very long, I think this is the longest conversation we have this season, and maybe the whole show, which was hard for me. It was hard to break, considering last episode with John Jarrow was a long, sprawling discussion too. But I get to talk with Brian about growing up here, his influences, sobriety, creating Shutter and Strum, and then one thing that we did have a conversation about, which is something that, if I were running for office, I'd say was one thing that was important to me, and that's a sense of community, which is hard to do in a town that is so sprawled out, where people can come together. They will, and when they do that, they create community and kinship and art, and all that just kind of flows from that. But in a city like in a city like ours, where people are separated from each other by lot sizes and drive times, it's easy to believe that your neighbors are only out for themselves. And then you combine that with the technological addictions we have. You know, we fall into a tunnel vision, really. We don't go out and see what's going on in the neighborhood unless it's a threat. We don't go out and see what's happening in the neighborhood or what's going on unless someone's committing a crime, or we distrust our neighbors. It breeds that kind of social isolation, even though we're all living right next to each other. And so that art and community and kinship and all that all benefit from just being in proximity of each other. And so that's something that we talk about during our show here. So buckle up. I'm going to talk with Brian Tryon, and then after the interview, we're going to talk about what's next for BNLO and that. So stay tuned. let's go pay the bills, and we'll be right back. The Nth Review. Do you like video games? What about multi-hour deep dives into how video games work? Of course you do! It's time you come check out what 22,000 other subscribers have already discovered. A whole bunch of delicious content about mechanics, immersive sims, action games, open world stuff, and why we play and enjoy games in video essays you can cook dinner to. Check it out at youtube.com/Nth Review. And be sure to check out my newest review for Deus Ex Mankind Divided, a revisit of the classic immersive sim, coming out soon. If you'd like to place an ad on BNLO, send an email to badlyneededpodcast@gmail.com and get your business, campaign, or message prominently featured on this beautiful, glittering podcast. Now, onto the conversation. Brian Tryon, welcome to the show. How you doing, dude?
I'm well. Yeah, I'm well. We were just talking about the weather before.
Yeah, this is the first fall day-ish, fallish day of the season, which is, I know, the kickoff for me is when the lows get a lot lower.
Yeah.
So then you get to that point where you're standing in the sun. It's like, this is pretty dope. And then you step in the shade and it's like,
it's two different worlds.
Fuck.
No. Totally. No, I know. I was telling Dave too, just kind of the barometric pressure kind of just messes with my body, so it makes me tired and achy, and it's all good.
Do you get the dizzy spells at all?
Yeah, a little bit of that
little bit
too. Yeah, a little bit of that, and sinus crap, and
Yeah, I was talking with John Jarrell. He was the previous episode, and we were talking about climate change very broadly. That's not to say that, but he's been here for I think over a decade. Yeah, and I was like, but I remember the '90s when it would snow.
Yeah, you would have
and
snow.
It would snow. Yeah. And then we haven't really had that in a while.
There was times when we'd have snow in the peak year round. I'm a native. And I
so you got the sticker.
What's that?
You got the sticker.
Yeah, I got the sticker. It's actually worn off my truck.
Okay.
But no, that's how native I am.
The green has turned purple.
Yeah, totally. No, I remember one time skateboarding as a kid.
Watch your mic.
Oh, whoops. Skateboarding as a kid, and it's like middle of August. It wasn't a downpour, but it snowed.
Yeah,
in town. There's definitely changes.
Yeah, but it also when it snows now, I kind of just get weary about it because back in the day it'd be like, oh, I don't have to go to school. Or to some extent, I couldn't go to work. Yeah. Not that working at Best Buy for a decade,
right.
We never got snowed. Once, maybe ever, we would get snowed out. But now it's like, so you're just working from home now.
Yeah. Well, I know schools are like that. Yeah. After COVID, they thought it was a brilliant idea to, this whole online thing's great. And as a teacher in that time, I was like, it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah. So when did you start teaching?
I started teaching about 9 years ago, but I was in the education world for 16 years. Yeah.
And so what did you start with? Your photography? Were you art, like that kind of stuff?
No, so when I first started...
Were you the gym teacher?
No, I was, in the food chain, I was, lower than that or whatever. But, I'd recently gotten sober and clean and needed a good, I was talking about that liquor store I managed. That was like the end of that kind of career. So my wife was a teacher and my mother-in-law worked at schools, and we're like, get into the school system. It's great. And so I started off as a custodian at Whitefoot High School. And then with my story and that kind of stuff, I started quickly mentoring. The special education kids would come and follow me around and fix toilets with me, and how do you do this and how do you do that? And then I was like, this is cool, but let's try something else. I was kind of trying to do a little ladder climb. So I was working as a campus supervisor, which is a glorified name for a security guard or whatever. But it was all about like the relationship building with the kids and, and that kind of stuff. So I worked there, 9 years or so. And then I got a job at community prep school. I got hired there, and I became...
Which is nearby.
Yeah, right over here in the historic Garfield building. And then I started as a student advocate there, where I was advocating for highly at-risk students, and then it turned into like, you guys, you have all these great skills and qualities. we'll let you start teaching. So I started teaching photography. I was part of the outdoor programming. They paid for my addiction counseling license. I taught many different things. I wore a lot of different hats there.
Sure,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
It seems that in education, because I actually, in the past couple years with the layoffs that I've had to do, I've been a crossing guard. And there's absolutely, among educators, there is a, I got you, that kind of, even though, because handling and working with students, and then you combine that with the pay.
Yeah.
You start to develop a brotherhood or a sisterhood, and anywhere the familial relationship between them. Yeah. It's like they're going to support you through that.
Well, it's like a thing, it's a lot of it's a thankless job, but most people into it are not, it's a labor of love and it's a passion, and it's, you're not making the greatest money, and and you deal with a lot of different things.
So. A lot of edge cases.
Yeah. And then, as times get, in these times that we're living in now, since especially COVID, and I keep going to bring that up because a lot of that changed the world for all of us. But a lot of weird politics started coming into the schools and squeezing everything back into a tighter box, just like the whole other parts of the world we're living in too. So it's like I've always had the philosophy as and education was I think the Rockefellers and the Kochs and stuff back whenever that was,
the Carnegies and
they wanted good soldiers. They wanted and good factory workers. They didn't want educated people. They want a cog in the wheel to keep them rich and making money, and that's when I started working at community prep. That was like the alternative school. Like, they were super progressive. We had a really good principal, and it was all like meeting the kids where they're at. It was all about the kids, and let's try all these different ways to keep these kids that are homeless, addicts, disconnected, whatever that is, help them graduate and become good community members. And then, as time keeps going on, all those kind of schools are getting infiltrated by different, administration, and they're just trying to packing it all back into that little tiny box again. And it's like, where do these kids go? It's like an overflowing bucket. They just keep overflowing and overflowing and overflowing, and the school community prep was that catch bucket.
At the end of it.
Yeah, at the end of it. And then that kind of all started disappearing. So I was like, it's time to move on,
So like, well, how did you do in school?
I was terrible. Man, I was one of the kids that and that's what I think the passion was too, is like, and going back and getting sober and clean, I was like, I got to give this back. This is, I was that kid. I had a really tumultuous family life and exposed to a lot of chaos and violence, and I would just skip school. I would just go skateboard. I would I was the class clown. I was the troublemaker. All that kind of good stuff. I was a dad at 17.
The disruptor.
Yeah, the disruptor. So, and I was sort of thinking back, like, I didn't have a lot of great role models. Maybe two teachers in my whole kindergarten senior career that were kind of mentorish or like influential on me, whatever. And then I'm like, there's a lot of that missing in the school systems too. So how do I fill that void? And that was another reason I got into the school system. And, plus I was like, I need a job other than working in the booze industry, all that kind of stuff. You
get the cool vendors drop it on, but if it's enabling a bad habit.
Oh no, I thought I was a genius. Like, man, I to drink for free and this and that and all day long, whatever. But, it's good alcoholic thinking,
Yeah.
But no, I was just that trouble. I was, that trouble kid. And then ran with, the bad crowd, all that stuff. So I understood it, I understand where these kids are coming from, and I understand where they are at. And not only did I live it, know of a story, I was actually, I try to strive to be a lifelong learner. So I was like, okay, I can tell these kids from my own experience and also what I read on page 34 of this book or whatever.
Yeah, you have a citation in there.
Yeah. So, and I think that's helped me be successful for what I've done,
So when did you get into like the arts and like were you photographing stuff? Were you taking photos growing up? Were you getting into the dark room and that as a kid, or did you have those kinds of influences?
My grandma was a photographer. She always had a new camera. And she was a documenter. Growing up, I don't know about nowadays because I've asked the kids, but you grew up and you had family photo albums and everything was documented, and my grandma held on to it like the Lord of the Rings ring, like the Precious, and like, so when she passed away, I got to get all those albums. So
was she doing like then high end, like really nice?
No, it was documentary photography, but she was a good photographer. She had a good eye. She kind of in affordability would get, you know, kind of the latest cool camera.
Yeah.
But nothing that extravagant, but like she was a documenter, and that's what I always liked. I remember looking at family albums and that kind of stuff. So, you know, I grew up in the film where there wasn't digital film and there wasn't camera phones. And,
not yet.
No. So, you know, I would photograph skateboarding, and that kind of got me into skateboarding. I owe a lot to because it helped save my life in some ways and also ruined my life in some ways. But it got me in touch with culture. And so I grew up here. I was lucky enough to be around a lot of diversity, being as the military town it is, and I grew up where there wasn't like just one black guy in the school, you know, or whatever, or an Asian kid, or you know, a Hispanic kid. But so you know, music, and I'd say before skateboarding was music. So
what were you into?
I remember, so, you know, we didn't have the internet, so you have, you know, people moving from New York, bringing mixtapes in.
Yes.
You know, and
with
like,
the Sharpies
yeah,
and stuff.
And you would trade mixtapes. And so breakdancing and hip-hop culture really was a big thing. I kind of, you know, I grew up listening to classic rock and, you know, and some in country and different things like that, which I always liked. Like, I loved music, and I loved the albums and looking at album art. So that's always been influential, too, as being a photographer and an artist. So like, I think all this stuff coming up was this perpetuation of like, this is what I'm going to do. So
albums are really special because for a long time, I mean, you'd have people recording these singles, these EPs or something like that. But then we had the concept of an album, a cohesive set of songs that you then wrap with this beautiful artwork, and that was coming
media,
about. Exact the LPs, and you're getting into like it's an entire cottage industry of artists around that.
Yeah, so you know, I'd look at like old albums like Toys in the Attic by Aerosmith always freaked me out, but in a good way, because it was that cartoon. They were all cartoons, but it was a guy that used to write cartoon for Penthouse magazine, I think. And I knew about that because I'd sneak my uncle's Penthouse and Playboy, so I knew the artist too. So so that would freak me. And then the Queen album, God, I always forget what it's called, but it's the robot poking the guy and the blood's coming off his fingertip. And then just the photographs of the bands playing, you know, like you know, the smoke-filled room. Like if you look at old jazz photography, they were in the moment, like the smoke and the grit there, it's all there, you know, and then, you know, the artwork. So I was like always fascinated by that. And then jumping forward, you know, I dabbled in photography because it was like, you know, I wanted to capture that. I hated the school photography because the school photography in the darkroom was always the jocks and the yearbook kids, and they were, you know, either making out in there or you weren't cool enough to hang out in there. So
they were definitely, that's like I have to take an arts class, and this is the one I'm taking.
Were they kind of, you know, I guess it would be called gatekeeping now, but like they totally took that, at least where I went to at Widefield, they took that space over, and plus I wasn't going to school a lot. I was like, I'm skateboarding, I'm going to go just do my thing. And
were you ever getting in trouble for that? Like I mean, I don't know if you were getting calls at that point. It's like, your student hasn't been in class all week.
So I learned pretty quickly. My first day of high school, this girl I had a crush on forever and ever talked me into skipping school. And I had never really done it before in junior high or, you know, elementary, obviously. I know I'd fake sick and stuff, but like,
whatever.
So it was after that, it was like, okay, my parents were pissed, and then, you know, I mean, we were, you know, they were both full-time workers. You know, we lived a block away from the high school. You know, we pretty much took care of ourselves till they got home. You know, that kind of stuff. And
the latchkey kids.
Yeah, the latchkey kids. So then, after a while, I'm like, you know what? I don't give a fuck. I'm like. You can be mad at me. You can spank me. You can take my skateboard. I'd build another little skateboard and hide it when they'd do that. And it just got to the point where, and now that I'm a parent, I understand it. But and some of the kids I work with, but it got to the point where I'm like, they're like, I don't know what to do. Or, you whatever, you know. And then, so you know, I was threatened to be expelled. I was threatened to this. And I'm like, I don't really care. You know what I mean?
Anymore.
And then I had a family that went to the same school, so there was this at the time. There was this lineage of like, we know your uncles, we know who your mom was, and it their reputation kind of followed me, and then we kind of stepped in and fulfilled their and added on to that, you know, relationship too. So so I would just go skateboarding, and then hung out with people that skateboarded and did photographs, and then later on, I was working for a little zine called Mosh Pit Records, and I was doing the skate article for them. And so I'd, take the photos and then write a little article for it, and it was in a zine and stuff. And then I got my girlfriend pregnant at 17, did the whole, got married, moved to Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska.
That's where I'm from.
Yeah. And then started, I carried on a little bit of it then, and then, but I was in between and in mean that time, there was a lot of drinking and drugs, and so it was my decline into addiction. And then when I got married, moved away, it was, different atmosphere. I started hanging out with the straight edge kids, and so I got sober for 2 years. And then when I had a pretty brutal divorce, so when I got back, it was off to the races again. And then I say that to say this, because my addictions took over, and I wasn't, I stopped skateboarding, I stopped making art. I really didn't give two shits about music. So all that stuff that it was my passion and was passionate about was robbed by addiction and alcoholism.
It just became the whole.
Yeah, that
just
was
fell into
my
identity.
It was a bottle, and drugs, and then my wife, man, she stuck with me through all of it. We've been together for 30 years, married for 20-something, and she's seen all of it, and she should be sainted. But and then I had kids young, so I had 2 kids that kind of it was always on the fringe of whatever it was going to be, and I had a self-fulfilling prophecy, a death wish. I was going to kill myself by 40 if I didn't die by 40.
Yeah.
And it was
some kids have with the 27
thing.
Yeah,
and then alcohol is like a slow, painful
brutal.
Kind of, because I watched my uncles and my family members pass away from that slowly. And then luckily I got sober about 35 years old, and then so I started thinking again, what is that round hole square peg syndrome? Like, what round peg should I put in that round hole again? And I'm like, okay, I liked skateboarding. I'm gonna kind of do that again, but I'm not well physically. I'm very overweight, and I'm older.
Things are gonna break a lot easier.
Yeah. So a good friend of mine, before I started working in the school system, hired me at a snowboard and skate shop. So I kind of got back into that again. He was sober, so that helped. And then I was like, what else did I like? I liked photography. I like this. I like it. So I kept kind of trying all these different things, and I'm like, what really was the culmination was it was music, skateboarding, photography, and then I started painting. So I'm like, so I got that was starting to fill that the round hole thing, and
because you're as a general, sometimes that can. It's liberating that you want to go and do all these other things, but sometimes when you're actually trying to find the work and trying to do the this and that, it can be hard when you have here's this specialist dude who's been doing this very specific thing for 40 years professionally, and that. And sometimes it's harder to gin up an identity, even though it is your identity. It's it's hard to say that I am a this. Yeah. It's I am a everything.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, and you get. And I tell this to the kids I work with and teach and stuff, it's say you become I was very not aware at the time. It was kind of cute, at the time, but from 15, 16 years old, I'd already tried meth, and I had already started drinking a lot. I got high for the first time with my cousins when I was in 4th grade, so it was always there and built around me. But then when I started perpetuating to when it was getting dangerous and very concerning, your brain kind of sticks in that mode. So you're kind of stuck in this 17-year-old, 16, 18-year-old, whatever you get started into your decline to addiction, you kind of stuck mentally into that. So when you get sober, you're like, okay, I'm 35 years old now, but I'm kind of been stuck in this mentality. You know
that
what I'm
arrested
saying?
Development.
Yeah, the arrested development to where you got to you got to realize, I had one guy actually tell me too, maybe you won't love your wife anymore, and this and that. Because I'm not saying that, but you just don't know. You're a whole different, your soul's different, your brain's different, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you had to learn to relive life. That's, I think, in the sobriety world, they call it your belly. You have a belly button birthday, then you have your sobriety birthday.
Yeah.
So, and I get, I got that after a while. You're like, oh, I get that. You're kind of in a non-religious form, but you're reborn again. You have to really learn in raw dog life, basically, and you got to learn how do you do that. And that's when art, photography, all that stuff was a tool, and then you have to work on yourself. And then,
it's like an ego death.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. It's just
totally
it's
not like I went to Peru or anything.
No.
It is just reality is now facing me.
Yeah.
Facing me straight.
What is this vivid world and or these what is this feeling? Oh wait a minute, that's serenity, that's calmness, that's peace.
Yeah.
And you don't understand that. You know what I mean? So so and then and I think a lot of people, the misconceptions are you quit drugs and alcohol and your problems are solved. Those are just symptoms of what's really wrong with you is the drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Whereas you got to dig and find out what is wrong with you, and you start being honest with yourself, and that's when you start figuring out the X, Y's, and Z's, and that you'll never be cured, but you'll be manageable, that kind of stuff.
But there's also the other, there are people who will look at an artist's, say, discography or something. It's like, man, they were interesting when they were high and doing drugs all the time, and then as soon as they got sober, it's like, man, I don't like this clean cut stuff.
I know that. And I think some of that's true. It depends on the person, but
sure.
Like I said, after a while, I just didn't want to do anything but drink and drug. All my passions went away.
Yeah.
I mean, so it was it's fun. It's fun with problems, and it's just problems. So, I know. I mean, I was worried about that too. And I still, 17 years sober, I'm still
have I stagnated?
Yeah. Or how do I act, or what do I do when I go to a show, or I do this, and I'm still, my anxieties are still there, my self-doubt's still there, all that stuff's still there that made you drink and made you, alcohol in the beginning makes you feel, comfortable with yourself, and you're the life of the party, or whatever. But no, I think what it did to me, and I've talked to a lot of other people, it just ruined their creativity.
Huh.
So, yeah, no, I mean, if you think about the Beatles or anything like that, you're okay, when they started doing hallucinogenics and when they started doing weed or smoking weed and all that stuff like that, their music got more. But did it? Probably, but they were already pretty genius about what they were doing. You know what I mean?
Into
that
it.
Probably did help. But in the beginning, maybe it was but my personality was more it just killed it,
It just murdered it dead.
Yeah,
it's like when people, they smoke weed or something, and they either get high and they're happy, or they get paranoid and anxious.
Well, that was me, and then I had to, drink, and then once I drank, it's cocaine, that pill, whatever.
Just keep going.
Yeah, it's just this
escalation.
This ball of fire and flame and tornado, kind of deal, so.
It kind of went from there. Did you have but even when you were younger, did you have dream I'm going to be a freaking president someday, or astronaut or something like that? No. Did you have when I grow up, I want to do this? No,
I mean, when I was younger, young, I wanted to be, I thought a comedian would be cool. Uh-huh. And I'm actually, I think the 6th grade talent show I did, I remember reading all this political stuff, and I was going to do these political, jokes, because I was always, I listened to, my uncles and people listened to, Richard Pryor and Carlin and, Cheech and Chong and all that kind of stuff. And then, finally, though, so and it didn't age well, but I did a Bill Cosby routine, and it was my own.
Pre-Jello.
Yeah. It was my own, but it was because I remember listening to Bill Cosby records. And I'm you did, and then watch Fat Albert and stuff like that. And so, anyways,
he had his time.
Yeah. I was okay, I'm good at making people laugh, and I didn't really have any. I guess it's a long story to say. I didn't really have any serious things I want to do, and then I found skateboarding and that kind of stuff. And I'm I'm going to be a professional skater. I'm going to be this, and and I learned, and then working with kids, I'm okay, it's cool to have those ideas, and maybe that'll be what you do, but where's your plan B's? Where's your plan C's? That kind of stuff.
What was the military ever calling it? It's you can do shit with your life.
Well, I hung out with this dude, man, and we had a music in common. He liked Jimi Hendrix, but he was a straight-laced. He was kind of, I hung out with everybody in high school.
Yeah, and Whitefield is close to Carson and all that
so
stuff.
He wanted to be a fighter pilot. I mean, he was a hardcore about military, but he had Coke bottle glasses and. But anyways, he kind of talked me almost into joining the National Guard, because I'm well, I'm
this go to DC these days.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. Well, thank God, I didn't or whatever. Yeah. But no, for a split second, I'm okay, maybe that's the answer. And I'm this punk rock skateboarder kid, into Sid Vicious and. All the, anti-establishment government punk rock. I'm what am I thinking? So I think it was just the fact that I was trying little ways to find something at that age. And then I could quit. Then shortly after I became a dad, and then it was okay, I have 2 jobs. I moved out. I'm living on my own. I'm paying my own bills, So it really wasn't that. And then after we split up, I went right back into my alcoholism and drug abuse. But it wasn't, so I never had really
like a flying straight moment where you're like, let me figure some shit out, you know, especially long term.
Yeah, well, because I mean, at that time, to some certain parts of that time, I was like, don't want to live past 40 years old.
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking,
that
far ahead. You
know,
so.
But you came back here. This is home.
Yeah, this is my home. You know, I've been fortunate with art and photography and all that kind of stuff, and working with the school. I was able to travel a lot, so I've kind of sowed my oats with that. My wife likes to travel, but yeah, no, I love. I mean, that's as much as I hate as I love it here. If you step back and get away from your jaded self and like look into like this is actually a pretty cool little area, you know.
Yeah.
You know, all the right wing and church and all that military crap aside, but like, you know, our backyard is the mountains, and you know, growing up we were poor, so that was our vacation. We'd go camp.
We'd go to Woodland Park or something.
Yeah, go to camp and fish and that kind of stuff. Like we would rarely, maybe once every blue moon, go to a family reunion because my dad was from Iowa. We'd go out to Iowa, which is not a vacation.
Yeah. What years were you in Omaha?
I was there from 90 to 90. Almost 93.
We were there at the same time.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I loved Omaha.
We were there from 91 to 97.
Yeah.
And we were in Offutt.
Okay.
So we'd come into town. Which is so many of the things we wanted to, like when we went to the Crossroads Mall, which has now been demolished.
Crossroads Mall. I forgot about. No, really?
Yeah, they demolished it. They're revitalizing it. Everything.
Yeah.
South Roads was next to us. That's been a business park forever.
Yeah.
But it was like all the places we went were the malls, basically. It was very mall core. Yeah, and then not a whole lot beyond that, or at least that's just my youth, because you had to drive everywhere. It was like 45 minutes into town, Dodge Street. You know.
Yeah. You had to drive in. I lived in Ralston. I lived in Bellevue. I lived in all over the place there. We obviously we're renters, and I was with my wife and my baby daughter, but you know, the skateboarding culture, we had Eat Concrete skate park there. I really started to learn culture out there. I was like, man, everybody was giving me crap about moving to Omaha. I'm like, I go, I didn't know what to expect.
Why Omaha?
Well, because my ex-wife, she was from Omaha and her family lived out there, so we're like, and I was like, I'm kind of ready for a change. I started like, okay, I want to be responsible. I want to be a good dad. I was kind of, you know, I'd already tried experimenting with hard drugs, and like I know my alcoholism was kicking in, so it was a change. And then I got into the art culture. I'm like, there was a lot of cool art culture.
Joslin's Art Museum.
Yeah, Joslin's was cool, and there was the Antiquarium downtown, which is they had a record store downstairs, a bookstore, and then like an art gallery up front or up top. But it was the two guys that owned it, and they were these typical eccentric artist dudes, you know. So got into bands. I was kind of trying to dabble in bands out here, but I got into a couple of hardcore bands. We played with 311 because my guitar they're from Omaha. Yeah. My guitar player went to school with them, and that was always a trip, you know.
I'm actually going to see The Faint when they drop in Englewood.
Yeah.
Love those guys.
I had left Omaha right before Saddle Creek and all that stuff.
Connor and all that.
Yeah, but I would go out there when my wife still lived, you know, because it was, you know, dropping off kids in North Platte, meeting each other, and, you know, going to Omaha for the, you know, and, you know, visiting my kids. So
and that's a drive.
Yeah. I know that by the back of my hand, man. I could tell you every nook and cranny of that damn.
We drop in the McDonald's in Ogallala.
Yeah. Ogallala was a stop. Yeah.
We actually one year went out to Sydney. The first Cabela's when there was one. You know, there's
that's right.
This is the future. We didn't know it. We didn't know it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, but Omaha introduced me a lot of cool things that this town, and this town probably still has it. You know, it's like you're just cool. You know, I'm not gonna lie. We've got, you know, there's some culture here, but it's always been a cultural black hole wasteland here. You know,
right?
But like Omaha, Nebraska, you wouldn't have thunk it. You know, you wouldn't have thought that how culturally, and I was wrapped in that world too. So you know, for the most part, the guitar player in my band, we skateboarded together, and he was doing art. He was doing like wooden panels with like aerosols and different things like that. And I was that's where I got my art start. Somewhat as in graffiti and aerosol and doing illegal
can control, and stuff like that,
and doing illegal tags and hit ups and stuff. But like, you know, so there was that. And I remember going to my first art show out there, and it was like, I had nightmares about this piece that was in there. It was so this guy had this glass table about this big here and double glass. So in between the double glass was rotted, gelated lunch meat, and it was like the look of it and just something about it just gave me nightmare. But it was like so the other piece he had was called War Trophy, and I got that. It was a big wooden base with a spray painted gold wheelchair on top. It's what you get when you do war or whatever. So there was, and then my friend had art there, so I'm like, oh, this is cool, and then kind of would dabble. I was kind of like this. It was piquing my interest about art and
and what
world.
it can do.
Yeah, and then I never went to the Fine Arts Center. I don't think growing up. Maybe. No, I don't even think we did field trips there as kids, and I didn't have that kind of interest in art. I was more still kind of like DIY, lowbrow.
But it takes there's definitely, you need a mission sometimes. If you are not an artist or you're not in that, and you're like, let's go to art galleries, you're gonna be like, here's a bunch of paint on canvas.
Well, what is this? And, you kind of, and that's what I tell the kids too. It's like, it's not so much maybe that art piece or you're not into it or whatever, but there's probably a color or something in there that inspires you or jumps out at you. So you can use pieces of all that stuff for inspiration too. Or if you're not an artist, how do you build the frames for it, or how do you curate it, or I've incorporated all that into like when I work with the kids too. And like, I go to art and I laugh at a lot of art, and it's and because a lot of it's silly. A lot of it's pretentious in my, these are my opinions, but but I think if you're out there creating, making, and doing stuff, it's a lot better than doing nothing.
Every part is part of like when you are a teenager and you're listening to rebellious punk music or something like Green Day or whatever, and you're like, rebel against the system, man, and then it's like, what is the system?
Yeah, what is the system?
What even is it? You don't know.
Yeah, you got to know the system to go against it. So I tell the kids, you got to know the rules to break them sometimes too. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, that's The master isn't the one who knows the rules. No. They're the ones who know when to gently break them.
And how to break them or whatever, and do it right, where people are just going, you're just vandalizing, or you're just making shit art, or what.
You're taping a banana to a wall.
Yeah, you're taping a banana. Yeah, totally. I taught that in an art class. We talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, there was actually at the Cottonwood, they had someone put up just a metal banana in a bed. It was like, oh, that was dope. So you eventually was it through the being in facilities? What do you want? No, I don't want to talk to you. Was it through facilities that you were like, man, education? That you were like tying this all together, or was there a moment it's like, man, I could be teaching?
Well, and that was, and again, going back to all like the addiction stuff and all that stuff, because I was like, this is what I knew that helped me. Yeah. And then I started meeting these kids going, okay, they were like me, they act like me, they were doing things like me as a kid, and I'm like, you know what? I think it's powerful to put a paintbrush in a kid's hand or a guitar, and those are security measures. That's going to help a kid too, rather than arming teachers or doing this. So I think a lot of security measures, and on that end of it, because it's a big thing at the schools. Is that'll provide them something new. It really is. Idle hands are the devil's plaything. It's a true thing. But then how do you find? And then I started to find out these kids. Like once I started doing it, I'm like, I want to teach this. I want to show what helped me. It really was all my story of how I grew up, who I was, to my sobriety. Yeah, and it's like, how do I become the person that I needed? Yeah, and then so I'm like, all I can do is offer this, And then I started realizing pretty quickly, a lot of these kids have some amazing talent they had no clue about. Well, they have nobody telling them they're even worth anything. We have kids sleeping on our stairs, or kids overdosing and dying, and how many funerals and how many, I can't even remember how many kids we've lost now, But like, and I just knew what helped me. And then, and just showing these kids that you care. So you got to build this relationship first. But yeah, I just started noticing these kids like, oh, I can do it. And then you're like, well, we're kind of doing math right now. What do you mean? Well, I mean, there's a lot of geometry and this and that and photography. There's, when you're in the darkroom processing, there's chemistry. There's, so these are little things that you can say like, oh, I'll never use this shit in my life again, but you will, and you do, and that was empowering to them too. Like, oh, okay, a lot of kids I did a photojournalism class, and most of it was like, okay, I know you guys can make photographs, and so I want to see how you read and write, and and it was more of just like to see where these kids were at, and it was like, these kids were reading at first grade, kindergarten levels. And that was what was preventing them being successful in school. So through art and through that, it was like, okay, let's write about this picture. I don't care what your grammar looks like. I don't care what your spelling looks like. Tell me what you see when you see this picture. Or write a story about your story in this picture. That's what photos and art is stories,
Yeah.
And that's where I would see what these kids are. And then you would empower them from that, going, okay, cool. This is rad. Like, yeah, I get it, man. You're dyslexic. You're this. There's a reason why. It wasn't because you're stupid. It wasn't because it was because of what happened in your life, or maybe you just had, you were born with it or whatever. And then you start empowering these kids. And then again, I guess art and photography and music, all that is empowering. And you can get your story out, and you can get your feelings out, or whatever it is. And then I started quickly learning that these kids are really picking it up and like, oh, okay. And then like, well, I don't know. I don't like art. I don't like to paint. I don't like to photograph. Mm-hmm. Well, there's bigger stuff to do. Like, so when I was at the school, the basement of the school is where I was. I had like darkroom already, and then there was a music studio.
Where the Garfield gallery
the Garfield gallery.
Yep.
And then I had my classroom. But then the rest of the basement was this, and it always had been this dark hole where these kids would come down and cry and do drugs and have sex, and it was just a negative space out there. So I'm like, you know what? I was like, I want to start a gallery down here, and I want these, the kids to work with the public and curate it and promote it and book it. And
when was this?
Pre-COVID,
right?
No, it was right. So I did everything pre-COVID, what I was doing. Then it was after COVID. So it was really when the mask mandates started kind of going away and all this. It was,
like 22.
22, yeah. So, yeah, because we would provide masks and do, we're still doing that and, taking COVID.
Social
tests,
distancing,
yeah. So I was like, I'm sick and tired of this being such a negative space. Let's make it a positive space. And then these kids, well, I don't know how to do art. Well, you know how to, nail in a nail? Well, how do you hang this? Well, curating a show is artistic, and you're really representing the artist, and how you hang it really represents the artist. And so that was empowering. Or like, how do you... We do live shows. How do you book a punk rock show? My kids were booking the shows there, and then curating. Because
there was always an act there.
Yeah. There was always something, something going on. So it made it super positive. And then and actually Lucy, who I still call them my intern, but they're definitely way more than my intern. They're my lifesaver there with a lot of stuff. But they follow me after they graduated from school, and they run the Disruptor Gallery, and do everything. And they were a person that would just shake in class and super anxious, couldn't like crippling anxiety. Now they're and it's still there, but they know how to manage it. And then they're running a public gallery now too,
that people are going to think about.
Yeah. And then the whole idea is like, if you can do the art, you can do this, you can do everything to yourself. Even when it comes to music, you can make the album artwork, you can record it yourself, you can play it yourself. How do you become self-sufficient? And there's a lot of ways in music, art, and photography that you can do that. And then where you make your money is a lot of time it's not about selling your art. It's okay. I'm going to teach it. I'm going to.
You're going to provide the shelves.
Yeah, I'm going to freelance. I'm going to commission, or I'm going to. So also too, you have this art and skill, but like, how do you become and it's all about being a better community member.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting any younger, so I want these kids to kind of come up with like, this is, I have grandkids, so I'm like, well, their future is going to be crazy, and so it's like giving them positive skills. Like, okay, I'm not going to go to college, most likely. I don't want to dig ditches, and nothing that there's wrong with that. It's just backbreaking work. I worked construction for years, so
because there is that retreat of like, I'm not going to get like, life's not going to hand me this, unfortunately.
Right.
So I could work at an Amazon warehouse or something to get enough money to pay rent
just
or
to
something.
make ends meet. But how do you do that in a creative way? And there are ways to do it. So.
And then your art is then your hustle.
Yeah,
or
your
hobby.
side hustle or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But like if I try to survive on art sales, gallery sales, or anything like that, I've been broke and done a long
That's
time
tough.
ago,
like that. I mean, that's tough for you and for the big galleries. That's hard.
You talk to them. We're all friends with them, and it's like, what you have to make for your overhead. It's like it's
you have to sell so many.
Yeah, I don't know. Just I'm throwing a number, but like if you have a $10,000 overhead budget a month, like just to break even, that's man,
Yeah,
so
and then you get a slow month or something, and the weather's shitty or something like that, and so it's incredible. Like Sissy Yobel and Lookup Gallery, you set up again after that big fire. And be a big anchor, like say down there. Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Well, yeah, no, I know. I talked to Clay a lot about when that was going on, and well, that's just the thing. It's kind of like how we live life, anyways. Unless you're a fluent person, like we're all 1, 2, 3, 4 paychecks away can be probably maybe being homeless. Not all, but most of us. You know?
Right.
Same with like like you may you don't have a good month. So if you're not selling art and your workshops aren't being booked, you're basically unemployed.
And if you're not social media and all that stuff, and because I see your reels like all the time. Yeah, but man, I'm out Shutter and Strum's open. Come down and see us. Yeah.
Well, that's funny you bring that up, because I was thinking that on the way over here, because that's a thing we've struggled with. I think a lot of people struggle with it, but
it's hard.
Marketing. We have over, I don't know, I think we're close to 2,000 followers.
On Insta?
Yeah, I think so. So you think about that, like, and you're like, not 2,000 people aren't seeing your stuff.
Yeah.
You fighting the algorithms, and plus, if you have the business side, it's pay to play. It's so like, how do you market? So I was thinking about the marketing. That's why I've been working with them, the Cottonwood, and doing collabs with them, and trying to collab. I'll be teaching at Bemis in the fall here, and and I was like honest with them, like I also want to have eyes on my place. It's like there's only so much you can do to market yourself. It's a digital, online, social media world.
It is.
So I remember when going back to like getting back into art. I remember I was trying to get an art show. A friend of mine who was an artist said, build a little body of work, 13 to 20 pieces. Mm-hmm. And then I just got into it, man. I think I had like 40 pieces or something like that. And started, okay, it's time to get an art show. And at that time, there was super clicky here. The people, and I won't name names, were,
West Siders.
Well, and it was downtown too. But it was like you have to, you have to come to every one of our first openings and my art shows. And then you got to get in, and you got to, and it was like, and then gratefully enough, like, I got in just being me. I didn't have to jump through those hoops. But I remember trying to get art shows. They're like, oh, do you have a website? I'm like, no. I just remember going in with your artwork and showing people, and like or a little portfolio, you would, whatever. And then
your actual sleeve.
Yeah, and then it was like
an actual portfolio.
Yeah, yeah. So then I got an art show in Denver, a couple art shows in Denver and in Hawaii before I even got an art show in Colorado Springs. So, and then it was like, well, you don't have a website. And so a friend of mine built a website for me. And we traded for prints, and it was cool. But like, that got me nowhere either. And then you have to manage it, and you have to do all this stuff. And then it became like when I was doing a lot of my freelance work, they were like, I go, do you want to see, I can send you some photos, or I can, I have a website still. No, what's your Instagram? So then you got to like start curating your Instagram, hoping they're going to, so
because that's tattoo. Like if you're a tattoo artist, you have an that is your, what used to be Behance or something like that, that is your resume.
Well, and that's it, and obviously everything becomes political, but like, initially, Facebook, and I think Instagram was all just like, a friend of mine when I never set up my own social medias. It was my kids, my older kids, and then my wife. Yeah. And then so I remember I go, what is Facebook? And I was always on MySpace and stuff, and I always liked it.
But that was very that was a top down, like the media companies were providing all this special content. Like I remember they'd have series where it'd be, Danny Elfman sits with Marilyn Manson and they talk about stuff like that. Facebook was very agnostic. And boring.
Well, that's what a friend of mine said. It's like MySpace, but for adults. and then now looking back at that, how funny that shit is, dude. Like, wow, this is none of it. I mean, that's just it. It's adults acting like idiots on there. Yeah, it is. But like, so
But you had, the top 8 or something aside, like you could like put a song on your profile that played,
totally,
and
dude.
that's like that was music discovery.
Well, and then
and stuff.
I was gonna say we started discovering bands and music, and I was always, I was still drinking and doing all that stuff at the time, but like I'd get, smoke just enough weed and drinking just enough booze or whatever to feel good. I'm like, I'm gonna put these songs on it, and I'm still friends with them. It's kind of funny. This band from Brazil named Buffalo. I think they're in a different band now. It was spelled with the one F. But we met on MySpace, and we followed each other through
the whole thing.
Yeah, dude, totally. And like every now and again, we'll pop in. Man, it's so good to hear from you. You know, it's like it's so crazy. And he always, you started from MySpace, brother. You know.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's, and I guess too, that's like there. You know, it has goodness, and I still. My grandkids will FaceTime me, or do video calling through there, or I have some friends from the skateboard world, or lives in other states, and that's there. But I think humans just always muddy things up, anyways. So
we're gonna whatever weird stuff.
It's always gonna become weird, whatever. But I guess that's going back. All that is like, how do you market, and it's like.
How do you get, especially when everyone else has access to the same mega horn, and you mentioned the pay-to-play aspect of it. It's like, because algorithmically, you reach 2,000 people, but you don't reach them. You just have 2,000. So the algorithm's going to serve, 1% of them.
Yeah, you get like the 5 same people that like or do your post because they're invested in looking what you're doing, and you are as well to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess my oldest son tried to. He was always like, "Why do you have 99 notifications?" I go, "I don't know. What do you mean?" He goes, "You got to go through." And so he was kind of, and I'm like, "I don't have time for that crap, man." And
that's why there's social media managers.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. Like, I mean, that's a whole another gig or job itself.
It is, and then that goes into the. It's not enough to craft and schedule the content. It is, all right, let's look hardcore at the analytics, let's pull up some personas, let's look at the email, see where the chains are, and it's like that those are like separate things. But a lot of these, like, you're talking about being a generalist, but so many of these jobs have merged in a way where it's like you can hire a social media ops person and a social media content creator, and they're different things, but they'll try to mush them together, and it gets weird.
Right. Well, and that's just anything. If somebody's going to try to monetize anything and make something, it's like, I can tell you to watch those slippers and don't let them go away, and you take that to the 10th degree, and like you power hungry over it, or you monetize it somehow, or not saying, but I mean, it's just examples. It's like everything. Now in this social world that we are in, it's like people don't read anything. Yeah, you skim through it. I'm guilty of it too. You skim through kind of little things and this and that. So how do you word things too? And like, grants are the same way. We just wrote a grant. It was like, how do you get all this important stuff in 250 words? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and then, I'm like, okay, so these people, and this is my theory, but like these grant people get, I don't know, let's say 1,000 people applying for the one grant. Are they really reading all that stuff? No, how could they?
It's impossible.
So it's like, how do you... There's got to be a formula. I'm sure there is. There's a formula what things are looking for, certain key aspect of pop outs or something like that. So how do you? It's just everything's a hustle. So,
no, it is, and as one of the places where I have like quantitative reach is on YouTube with my gaming channel. The Nth Review, and I have to sit there and I talk with fellow creators all the time. It is. You've just spent however long, weeks or months, working on a project that you are so passionate about, and then you're at the finish line, and you may have like the title, like a title of a movie. This has been the title in my brain since this was conceived. And it's like, no, I have to save that. For the title card in the actual movie, because I need to type out a title for this video that is going to catch eyes, and I need to put a thumbnail up that's going to catch eyes and be immediately reeling those people, because I see the fall stuff and and then getting, like you mentioned, the reels and stuff. You have to do all the supporting peripheral stuff along with that, and it's all intersecting, but to like what end? No, exactly. And well, and that's just it. We're just trapped in this world like that, unless you have money and a lot of resources, or you have a big team working for you. That's why, I mean, I love the DIY aspect, to do it yourself and doing it and this and that, but like, I mean, it's a lot of work, but at the end of the day, though, you can have somebody micromanaging or this and that, but then again, though, there's always what's the word? There's always like compromise, of something, you can take Tylenol, but it messes your liver up. Your pain's gone or whatever. What I mean? There's always a give and take with stuff, So. And one thing that came up when you were talking about just there's an age, and it's not a specific age, but it's definitely the you start feeling the limitations of your 24-hour day. Of like, I want to do so much stuff. Yeah. You do start feeling the candle burning on both ends. Yeah. It's like, I want to accomplish so much, but I know I can only accomplish so much. And maybe there's a midlife crisis part to that.
There's that. And then, if you have a family, you have kids, you have a lot, I mean, there's a lot of factors in that.
And it's like, this slice of pie now no longer belongs to me, and having to figure that out and come to grips with it, and then not have the existential dread all the time, put that together.
Exactly.
So what was Colorado Springs like growing up? Like the town, you mentioned it was a cultural black hole, and to some extent I moved here in 97, so we went from Omaha to here.
Yeah.
And we were very much homebodies. Yeah. And so I mentioned it in previous episodes, but we only came downtown to go to Giuseppe's. Basically.
Yeah.
And so we take I-25, get off at BG right there, and then leave immediately.
Right, exactly.
So what was the culture like back then?
So, I mean, I really cut my teeth in this town. I mean, I was born in 72, so mid-ish 80s, I started skateboarding and doing all, breakdown, all that kind of stuff. So, it was, I don't know, it was definitely I've seen this town change a lot, building wise, and what things used to be, and blah blah blah.
There's a lot more of those low slung industrial blocks.
I remember Nevada was it was called cruising. So you'd cruise Nevada, and it was all up and down Nevada. People would drive their cars, or drinking, fighting, whatever it was. That was your hot thing to do, was cruise Nevada. I lived in Whitefield security area, so
you're kind of we were out in the suburbs. I grew up in Village 7.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't like this. It's boring here. There's nothing to do here. It sucks here. So I started meeting friends, that were downtown people, or
like Manitou and that.
Yeah, Manitou downtown. And then I met my friend of mine and my best friend growing up. They lived on the west side, or they lived downtown. So I was able to acclimate, come and stay the weekends, and start meeting these people from downtown and west sides and Manitous. Yeah. And skateboarding with them, or breakdancing, or listening to me, whatever it was. So I was able to break out of. I had a you probably didn't know anybody. That's how I was Giuseppe's home. If you had your parents had friends, or you had friends, you would probably commuted. Came to here.
We went to Manitou. Before I worked for Indy. I think I've been to Manitou twice, and one of them was we're going around with the parents and going to the old timey photography and that.
That's funny how that. And again, that building's been in that place has been there for years. So
that used to be the old Commonweal. The original. Yeah.
So my grandpa was the mayor of Manitou in latest 70s. He was on the school board. He was on the financial commission, and where the weed store is, and there's Loaf and Jug. He owned the NW root beer that was right there. So I've seen all that change.
Right, with the highway went over.
Yeah. So I've seen all that change, and then downtown here, I was Acacia Park was our skate park, because they didn't have skate parks back in those days, really. Mm-hmm. So the band shell had stairs on it, and
were people using it?
We were not kind of.
It seems like that'd be a great place to have bands and stuff.
They would, but
doing performances.
No, and they would, but no, that was our skate park, and that's where we'd hang out, and I'd skip school, and we'd hang out there, and then they end up grassing everything and taking all the curbs out, making it non-skatable, and
putting those curb
things on it.
The curb stopper things.
Yeah, and then taking, grassing, all the grass was all, cement, and they did a lot of different things, so even before I was into breakdancing and all that stuff, my grandma was a horse person. She had her own horse, and she also took care of rich people's horses from the Broadmoor and different places like that.
Was she the photographer?
Yeah. So, and she showed dogs and different things like that, and so I was in that, the cowboy world. So I went to rodeo school and rode bulls for a little while, and then so going back to the band show, I remember I did it was probably for Little Britches Rodeo or Pikes Peak or Bus Rodeo. So that's been in the street breakfast. So that's all been going on for a long time.
Yes,
I can think that's going
they've got photos from the '60s of that Western breakfast. Yeah.
So they would do the cowboy things there, and they would do different, I never went to the band things though. So there was certain parts of the culture that I was involved in, a certain part that I didn't know about, you know.
Yeah.
So then I know, seeing how a lot of these buildings have changed here. This used to be this. There was three skateboard shops downtown. This was a photography. They had a Woolworth downtown. Media F's was in the old in the basement or the bottom level of where the Antlers is. There was before Godex, it was another photography place. There was
the Palmer Center was still being built.
Yeah. There was a lot of cool things downtown. It wasn't just kind of half-assed restaurants and overpriced boutiques. You know,
Yeah.
They had camera stores, record stores, skateboard shops. You know, all the brick and mortar stuff now that is all online. You know what I mean? So but
if you need some trucks, you just go to Amazon or something.
Yeah. So they had all that kind of stuff down here. You know, and they had the good restaurants. And then I don't know why. When did you ask me? If you go to Concrete Coyote. And at the train stop right there's that building now. It's a weed grow place or whatever. It was called Bell's Disco. Mm-hmm. So some of our some of our fun was, because we lived in Whitefield, we would just take Las Vegas down and we'd go
straight there,
harass the disco guys, you know. And it was it was a pretty hardcore place, you know. I'm sure, and it would be like the scene in Animal House where the white dudes walk into the bar and I'm sure it was like that there, but we would just harass them and drive around and harass, and they'd tease, and then we'd fight the military kid guys because they would come to school trying to pick up on the girls at lunchtime, So we had this weird, it was a lot of different times in the 80s.
Yeah, of course.
And then, most of the 90s, or beginning of the 90s, I was in Omaha and I came back. But like the 80s up until 90, till I moved, I've seen a lot of changes, a lot of things go that are like, man, this sucks, but I guess, things change. There's a time limit or there's an expiration date on things.
Yeah.
And going back to the band shell, I've been on this committee for years trying to save the band shell because they've been, the city wants to tear it all out. And I think they had different talks of making that the area where the Zamboni is for the permanent ice skating rink and different things. And, in Colorado.
Because they've got the space for a skating. I mean, it's right there.
Yeah,
they just set it up.
So I'm like, call me, I don't know. I'm nostalgic. I mean, there's certain things I don't want to see go. I mean, if they turn into something else and it's still like, like this apartment complex has been there forever, it's different things, or whatever. But like, the building's still there. Like, the school is still, the Garfield is still the Garfield school. Yeah. But, and just kind of with the Union Printer Home and all that kind of stuff like that, Colorado Springs has been good at not putting things on their historical register site. Yeah. So to protect these things, because they know they want to demolish and destroy and redo and that kind of stuff.
But that inspires like the conversations around, like, say, City Odd, which we've had on this show. They've neglected it for so long, and it is so expensive.
Yeah.
Like they've got I don't remember his name, some dude. Yeah. That's going in there, and good luck. When Linda Weiss couldn't raise the funds herself, you're going to have someone else try and figure that out. Yeah. Even with a diminished plan, but it's like, what do you do? And I see both sides of that. It's like, here's this historical thing. People have nostalgia for it, but I got to wander in through there, for my story, and it is busted. Yeah. It is old. Yeah. There's definitely parts that are not ADA compliant or anything like that. Yeah. And it's like, so I totally get the preservation. It's on the National Registry, what have you. Yeah. But at the same time, there's something that would benefit the city so much more if they did just went. It's like, no, you're gone. Yeah. And you can kind of see that struggle even years back when they were having to demolish the Cotton Club or other old facets of downtown to put up parking lots because there was no parking here before. Yeah. And so, like City Odd, it's like, well, what do? You have that conversation. I mean, they're even demolishing some old structures for Palmer here to do that expansion.
Well, and I see the other side of it. I see both sides, but what I see too is I was watching this documentary on house music and how it started in Chicago. So all these old clubs that used to be the big time clubs where these guys would go, these people, and I think it comes down to management and managing the money properly. And I won't go into the Linda Weiss thing and all this different stuff. But so it can. I think there's always a can do, So what these people did was they went out, fought to put these buildings on the National Historic Register. They're not the nightclubs anymore; they're like office spaces or whatever. But they put the buildings on the National Historic Register, and then there's people, as a nonprofit, donate money, and you work within a community to because these buildings were like that too. They were. I mean, even when they were doing the house shows and DJ show, that they were not compliable or whatever.
They were pretty fucked up.
Yeah, and it's, so I think with the proper, and it's tough, but you got to hustle. So with the proper donations and the proper way of like actually using the donation properly and not stealing them or whatever you're doing, it can be done.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. If somebody really cared, it can be done.
Yeah, and I want him to prove me wrong. Like,
no, I know, right.
I'm totally for that. But in that wake before they announced that they were getting someone else to get in there, it's like, what are they going to do with this thing? And it's unfortunately, so much prime real estate downtown here is Norwood, and they're sitting on it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
They're just sitting on it. And it's like, there's so much opportunity as the city grows and changes and stuff like that. Man, I talked with someone from the city the other day about that. The building where the 7-Eleven was under, that has the interrupters mosaic. Greg Deal's interrupters.
Yeah.
That building's empty. There's still power going to it.
Yeah.
Someone's paying for power in there. Yeah. You take that building, you convert that, you put a grocery store, like 2-3 story grocery store out in the base.
Right.
You put like 15 levels of residential on top of that. That's an ideal site
and that's
for
the thing.
that.
I think it's going back to your initial question was like seeing the changes. So, I was a house painter, commercial painter for years. We ended up painting a bunch of those places above there, but they never became anything. Mm-hmm. The guy in the jeweler guy was there forever.
Yeah.
Downstairs before it was 7-Eleven, I can't remember what it was. But then
it was like another C store.
Yeah. It was like a bodega. I mean, in a city, it would call it a bodega.
Yeah,
or whatever,
what's one of those out here?
Yeah. So, but then I always loved that space or the horse mural with that airplane. Looks like the mural that used to be there. You remember it?
No.
Oh, man, it was there since I was a little kid. It was like art in the streets before art in the street stuff were big, and it was just it was just weird. It was like. It was one of the new airplanes that came out. It kind of looked like a space shuttle. And then it had these wild horses running in front, and it was there forever. And I remember people bitching about it, and they're like, they quickly took it down to do the Dale painting or whatever. And I was kind of bummed about that. I just the nostalgic part of that. I'm like,
that was part of this.
Why? It's part of this, I know. I think it's part of like, there's room to have new things and old things. I can see like if it was, I don't know, if you're hitting up spots, graffiti murals, those come and go.
Yeah.
And change happens, man. I'm just like I said, call me nostalgic or whatever. But that kind of bummed me out that it went, and then there's that stupid sticker Aspen mural that's there, But no, I think you're right. That could be a I guess my thing. It could be a cool, quirky little. Hopefully affordable, which wouldn't be affordable.
Well, you live downtown.
Yeah, I know, totally.
You're not.
No, you're not going to find affordability.
No, you're not going to get Section 8, unfortunately.
No, but like have it to be some cool, quirky. Yeah, and I don't know if Norwood owns that. I don't know who owns it.
That is theirs.
Yeah, it's a Norwood. Yeah,
that's a Norwood. Yeah, because they also there's that spot right next to Mountain Chalet where Mary Marshburn is on the wall there. And for years, the city had planned to turn that the parking lot behind City Odd as well.
Yeah.
They'd planned to turn that into the new bus terminal, and it fell through last year. So, but that's Norwood too. It's like. And we were just talking with John about banning Lewis and all that. Too. They own that too, you know.
I know. And I'm not getting me. And I know one of the Norwoods pretty well, or used to. But anyway, I'm not going to go into any of that stuff. But I have my theories of my ideology. But no, I think just going back to that. Yeah, like I don't know. Over and down the street, and out that big yoga place used to be a restaurant. Most of a lot of my friends had their first jobs at. It's just kind of a bummer to me, like to see some of these places go. And I know they're going to go, and I know they're going to do this, But like going back to the historical register thing, and I've been on different committees and know what they're going to do. Well, as much as they're going to let us know what they're going to do at the Unit Printer Home.
And that's a good. We could segue into that.
Yeah. So it's like. It's never for the good of the people. It's never for the good of the city. It's a good for, so if you think about it now, so going back to the changes that I see downtown too. Growing up here and going downtown, is you have these bubbles of these unaffordable, unattainable to the common person apartments. And then you have, inside there, they have their own little restaurants, or they have a little, bread and butter is kind of right in that area. So these people have a bubble they can live in. They don't really contribute to our economy by any means. They live in their little bubbles because, everything's right there for them. I mean, I'm sure. I'm sure they're IT people or whatever. I don't know. They're just, younger folks that can afford to live in these places or whatever. But like, how is that how that's not helping the city. It's helping that part of the city or whatever, or it's helping line pockets, but it's not. And I'm, the big community thing. It's not helping the community as a whole, like the city as a whole.
Well, I mean, but we've had that. The inverse of that is you have thousands of square miles of houses stretching out to the horizon,
Right.
but all the stuff you need is over here.
Right.
So then
right.
you have these congested roadways
Right.
and
Oh,
really
right, for
noisy
sure.
and pollution.
Yeah.
Because that was suburbia. That was boring.
Yeah.
Boring
yeah.
as shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Where there's nothing
Yeah.
out there. And I mean, I can, as someone who would look at all these apartments as they're built, it's like, fuck, I could live there. Like I sit there, that would be so dope.
No, I know.
But
I'm not gonna lie. It would be a sick place to live.
But that
walkability,
walkability, walkability.
Yeah.
So even if they're like, here's these apartment, mid rises, and then they're, here's streetcar or Kawadi or something like that. At least. Like they're walking, at least, and it may seem, but they could also go to City Hall. They could also take a bus. They could also do that too.
I think it's more than just like them going to Kawadi and all those places like that. Like some of these places actually, in their physical being, have the restaurants in there.
Yeah, or the mixed use,
or whatever,
which is pretty cool too.
Well, it's cool, but it's like you don't really have to. It's just making things so comfortable for people. I think it's like you're not. I don't know, man.
But I could go to Kinship Landing like I do. Or every blue moon.
Yeah.
And I could go like, hey, they've got that cafe restaurant in the base.
Well, that's good for us to go to these places. But
inversely, people can go to them too.
Yeah. Well, then, no, I think that's rad. But I just don't see these these people. I guess we're going back to like the city vision. They're not envisioning the good of it's gentrification. I mean, it's all. I mean, 100%. It's like it's not for the good of the city, good of the people. It's for the good of whose pockets are getting lined and that kind of stuff. So
that goes to the developer. And
Well, for sure. I guess that's my point. Yeah.
And I remember talking with Susan Edmondson.
Yeah.
A couple years ago because I did an interview with her, and I'm like, aren't you concerned because we just did a story about Mill Street and all the development going there, and she's like. And I mentioned like gentrification, is that going to start pushing people out and, our developers going to start like chomping up these, mulching them basically.
Yeah.
And she's like, we're adding so many units to the supply here. We're not really displacing it. We're just allowing more people because you couldn't really live here unless you were on the fringe.
Yeah.
It was residential and then everything else, in the middle there. So you had casualties recently, the Well, 3Es and stuff like that, where there's just not enough people coming in there. But you can imagine like some big metro area, New York and that, it's still hard, but you have a built-in audience that's there,
for sure,
willing to go into the basement and do that. And I think that we're in that weird. The whole argument around Vela 1, the skyscraper, or Vila 1, and it's like, but we need the density. Like we need, you have these people who are not living anywhere close to downtown, complaining about views being obstructed. You don't fucking. You want your view obstructed, like stand across the street from it. But aside from that, like don't give me that.
It's always that compromise. There's always a give. Like,
there's always a
So like where we're at in Nob Hill, and I've grown up here. Nob Hill's always been the black hole. It's always been the shady biker tattoo shops, the biker bars, the strip clubs, shady, bars, that kind of stuff like that. And
drug deals going on in the back.
It's always been that way. So, and that's our thing too. Like now we're like, if you go to, go to Shutter, you go to What's Left, you go to Platt Furniture, Zone 5, or you go to Vultures or Black Sheep. It's a destination.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, it would be rad to have a coffee shop. It'd be rad to have this, but like, as an owner of something, it's like I guess my point being, I would want that to be all not Whole Foods or Natural Grocers or Starbucks. I want
Sprouts.
Sprouts. I would like to rather see local businesses, but like at the time, like you got to start somewhere, So where do you start at the beginning and get in before it gets gentrified and expensive, or do you kind of struggle through it till it starts getting built up to where you have a destination, and not just a destination coffee spot, you have foot traffic and that kind of stuff. Because I've been thinking about the coffee spot a lot lately. There's Dutch Brothers down the street or whatever. But
Yeah.
we have a great Cuban restaurant. We got great Mexican restaurants. There's a Cajun food truck there. There's a lot of cool stuff there, but it's not providing foot traffic, or it's a Friday night foot traffic, or it's whatever. So
they're showing up for First Friday, maybe even I am, and it's like, but I don't have a reason to.
Yeah, why
be
else
in
would
the
you go?
market.
And then you got, you still have the seedy side of things. So, and then I think Nob Hill was 75 or 78% rentals. So, that's a thing. What is the investment in the, as far as the people living around there? So there is that give and takes, but like how, like the give, what do you give to take? Okay, we'll have a natural grocers here, but can we have Nick's coffee shop right here or whatever?
Right, exactly.
Or, so.
Because even, all you have to do is install a nice looking coffee shop and people on the fringiest
driving
end.
Through too.
Well,
right?
you'll have the fringiest people who are like, gentrification, stop.
I know that too.
And it's like there are plenty. Obviously, Nob Hill's part of the Platte Avenue corridor, and that they've spent years and however much to build that. And I think it's so incredible.
Yeah.
Because I remember Muji was talking about we got involved with that when. Yeah. But it's like, even that will gentrify. If you make a place that's dope, if you add crosswalks so you're not racing across Platte to get to the other side, like that's gentrification in its own way too.
Again, it's that whole it's that, I don't know if it's a
that give and take.
It's that give and take, but so 2016 we're supposed to Muji and then the Nob Hill Project, which I'm on. They're going to put by Vultures on Iowa. I think they're going to be, but I think that's more they're waiting to see what's going to happen up the road at the Union Printer Home and all that kind of stuff like that too.
That's an interesting, because that was as they unveiled it. That is a big. They're going to extend the printers, the classic structure, and then they're going to add a whole bunch. Like they're going to have it's going to be a neighborhood.
Yeah, it's going to be their bubble.
It's going to be their bubble there. But it'll be next to your bubble. And so those guys could just walk across the street, go 2 blocks, and there's Shutter and Strum.
Well, that's the hope. So that goes back to my point of like the downtown people being in their own bubbles. Are they really going up to Oric during First Friday? I don't think so.
I don't know. Oric's pretty busy.
Well, I know. But you look at the photos, and we all know everybody in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I'm just saying that's my thing too. Is it really gonna be?
But isn't that the downtown partnerships thing? It's like, hey, you're here. Yeah. We're cross promote, and I maybe like like Nob Hills Urban Art District. Like, hey, we're here. We're here to. We're not just the people who run the murals and shit. Like you've got Shutter and Strum here, you've got Zone 5, and here's Printers Parkways here.
And that's just the thing too. It's like that. And I'm on an urban Nob Hill Urban Art District board and stuff. It's like they're still focusing on it, which is rad. But it's like every time I've had anybody that tried to come and approach us at Shutter when it comes to promoting that kind of stuff, they didn't show up, or they couldn't show whatever. There's always something in it.
Who shows up.
You know the names. There's you and there's a handful, couple of people.
It's Rents, it's Muji, it's Mike.
But it's not like and then, like as far as like and that helps get people out of those bubbles and stuff too. So and then it's the downtown partnership. It's not downtown Manitou West Side Nob Hill partnership either.
It's the Avenue Creative Conduit.
Yeah. So, and I guess my whole thing is like I think we're bigger in numbers, we're safer in numbers, we're stronger in numbers, and then when people still, and that's the kind of the black hole cultural thing I talk about. It's like there's so many people doing a lot of cool shit, but they don't want to do it together. They want to get the pat on the back. They want to get the high five. They don't want to be like a collaborative high five.
Well, especially if money's attached to the grants and stuff like that.
I think a lot of it's just ego stuff too. I'm like, do we all die at the end of this? We're all gonna die.
We don't get to bring our murals with us.
It's like why not? Like, if you want to leave a legacy or whatever the hell you want to call it, why not do something as positive you can in the little time that you have, and it doesn't need to be like, oh, Nick did this one great thing, he's doing this podcast about, whatever, or Brian's doing this. It should be Nick, Brian, Dave, all of us are doing this great thing together. So
we had this moment.
That's a lot of the frustrations I've seen it, I guess, going back again, seeing how this town with the cultural stuff and how this town's always in the skateboard community click, in the music community clicks, and then we have what we call scene killers, that people were like, no, there's nothing to do. This sucks, but they won't support it. And then when they do support it, they gatekeep it, or they start doing something where they destroy it. Mm-hmm. So I've seen
maybe
that.
even inadvertently.
Yeah,
too.
and it's like, why can't we all just, so that's what we're trying to do in Nob Hill for sure. Is like, we're kind of, we're you have vultures and you have black sheep and what's left record when it comes to music venues, and we still, we do live music, and then you have Platt Furniture and Zone 5. But, I'll be honest, Zone 5 and Platt Furniture, and we don't all talk to each other.
No.
Not on purpose, not like we don't, because I love Jan and I love Eli and all that kind of stuff, but it's just like, we're all just, we're hustling or whatever. Or
you're just doing everything you need to get by.
And it's like, even that, it's like, like, why can't we all just be like, and we've all talked about it.
Yeah.
And I think we met with you one
time.
I
know.
Totally.
I know. We sat down and talked about it in the Black Collections basement, but it's like...
But, and I know a lot of it, even as going back to the, social media and all, it's just as simple as even sharing somebody's, like, so-and-so are doing this on this day, or, this artist is like, I love this guy's art, like, I'm going to put it on my story. Like, even that little stuff like that, or even liking a post.
Algorithmically and everything just boosts people.
Because if you're going back to that structure of advertising and this and that, that's what's going to help everybody too, and I don't see a lot of that happening either. You know?
But that's hard, like, because even if obviously I want to like everything, but I could go... Like.
Yeah,
I
could
just say,
right.
Yeah,
well,
then I could go. I could really spend all day.
You gotta curate what you're doing, I guess, too, on that. Like, I manage.
That's tough.
I manage a personal account. I manage the Shutter account. I manage the injection site account.
Yep.
So when I'm on there, I'm like trying to always plug in where things need to be plugged in, and not just artificially either. Like, oh, this band, we love this band. Here's what they're doing. What's left is doing this. Eli just moved into the Bijou studio. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. But it's like you don't see it. And then working with the artists too is like, you got a show from us, and we do all the promotion. We were always talking about it. We do what we're supposed to do, and then I don't see you promote maybe once for First Friday.
Yeah.
Well, and then you look at them like, well, I don't want to mess up my algorithm. Then what are you doing, man? Like, is that more important than your art or like building a community? I think a lot of people it is. Like, I get so frustrated with like these people that do not self-promote.
Yeah, no, and I get the other side of like the anxious artists who just won't.
Oh, I get that part too. I could be that person too.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know how to do it, and if I will never figure it out, so I just won't. I'm not going to bother.
But
that kind of thing.
There's artists I work with that's like, better, and you know what you're doing. I've seen you do it before, whatever. Yeah. But it's like, man, it's just like there's just little things that like can be small, like little small things. Like, I don't know. I've been talking to this friend of mine who's been helping us with the screen printing, and he's got a little screen printing co-op, and he's like a one-man army. Yeah. But it starts with little things. Talk to your neighbor. Yeah. Talk to this. Go do this. You know what I'm talking about. It's like, but it just seems hard for a lot of people to do that.
There's like a broad culture thing, because I remember when I started at the indie, I didn't know anything about the local art scene.
Right.
I didn't know a thing. I didn't know anyone. So there was a couple weeks of like, all right, let's have the people who are here email me, because they hooked me up with the fire hose of emails that we would get, all the press releases. Set's got this new play. This one's got this new this. Yeah. Fine Art Center's got that. And I remember distinctly, is like, my mission is to go to the place and see the thing and see and meet the people. Right. That was very important. Like the first time I went to Garfield Gallery, it's like, sure. I'm going to go walk over there from G44 Kreuzer, before they were Auric, and actually see Brian. Yeah. And have the faith like we're doing right now. Yeah. Dave's over there, to have that FaceTime of like, I know who this person is. And then you have those touches, not physical touches.
Then you build off
I'm just touching you.
Oh,
virtually. That physical, that being in the place. Yeah. And I think that's what those bubbles allow for, is that, hey, I keep running into these people. Right. Hey, because we've been missing that. I mean, that's the way cities were. Like back in the day.
For sure, yeah.
Block to block, neighborhood to neighborhood.
You didn't have instant gratification every second of the day on your computer pocket.
You also didn't have a 20-minute drive to work or some shit, you know? Sure.
Well, it's always that, that you see a lot of that contempt prior to investigation or whatever kind of deal going on too. But like, if you want to form an opinion about something, go meet them.
Yeah.
Go have
go see the thing.
So when I was photographing all the Black Lives Matter, COVID stuff, the Trump rallies, and all that, I was like, I shoot a 28 or 35 milliliter lens where I have to be like this to make a photograph,
because otherwise everything is just. But
small. I wanted a conversation. I just didn't want to be the guy with the stupid sports lens hiding out over here. I wanted to be in the I wanted to be in the mix. Two, I wanted to have a conversation.
Yeah,
no matter even if it was with one of the Trump people or whatever.
Yeah.
But I wanted that conversation so I could have my opinion, build my own opinion, critical thinking about it. It's critical thinking. Like, so I wanted to be in the mix with that. It's the same thing. It's like, I mean, I could sit there and whatever, and Nick's podcast sucks because, well, do you know Nick? No. Have you ever been on the podcast? No. Well, it's like.
You're just automatically rejecting
well, and that's that scene killer shit that I was talking about, know. And I guess we're human, we're weirdos, man. We're a weird animal, dude. Like, so we're very tribalistic, we're very whatever. And I think everything that's happening to us now, in real time, and technology, and the world, and politics is like just making us more animalistic and tribalistic, and this and that. So how do we, bring it back around? Because
how we climb out of it.
Yeah, well, because nobody's and you've heard nobody's coming to save us. We got to save ourselves.
Right.
And the shit it's a fan. It's like you have to have a good little community somehow. Because what else is gonna I mean know. So why not even if you're not thinking that doom and gloom? Why would you why would you live this short life and not try to be connected somehow, you know what I mean, to a positive thing, or because I mean, going back to my addictions and alcoholism, like I did shitty things, but I mean, I still had a soul enough to remember how to take care of it and make my amends and clean up that stuff like that, and then realize, okay, do I want to like die and people are like, piss on his grave, or do I want to die and people are like, man, that's kind of sucks, the guy did good things, and it's not the pat on the back, and it's not the ego,
because you're not going to care.
No, I know, I'm going to be fucking dead, but why would you want to like make people's life miserable in the time that we have here?
Right,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? So
because as you mentioned with the lineage and the heritage of the reputation, and that carries on, beyond you. It's like, oh, that fucking guy.
Yeah, that fucking guy. We had a principal that took over from a shitty principal at the school, and just not a nice person. I don't, just kind of, they passed away, and we were just like,
yeah.
Like, and so that clicked in me. I'm like, it kind of sucks to be like, okay, whatever. But it was like, why don't live your life like that, man?
Yeah,
like it's got to be
the proper reaction.
Yeah,
right?
You got to be. I don't know, some way, man. You don't have to change the world, and you don't have to, but like at least, I don't know, even little shit is putting your grocery cart back, or I don't know,
the Danzig thing.
Yeah, just some, I don't know, just like try to at least try to do something cool or nice, your part of the day, and then, we're human, we're going to make mistakes, but if those mistakes are justified every time, we're a human, then, there's an issue or whatever, but like, I don't know. Like, I think it just goes back to all everything we've been talking about. It's just, try to just do cool things, and you don't expect a pat on the back, and I'm going back into teaching, and the teaching, it's a thankless job. It's like, it's not why you do it, we're doing it to help, and, and,
create those impressions
in a community, and and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, and it feels weird being in a city like I grew up in Bellevue, but like we still had to drive everywhere for all the fun stuff, even though we could have just done so much of it in our backyard. Right. But it was in a city like ours that has spent most of a century building out way beyond after World War II, where it's like Nob Hill has the luxury of like being adjacent to downtown, but if you're trying to start an art scene up at University Village or Interquest, Briargate, Powers, stuff like that, good luck, because even years ago I remember it was like, here's the first Jaroslawka mural coming in here, like that is so cool, but it's just corporate stamp, that kind of thing, and so that's why when I talk to like local nonprofits, it's like, cool, I'm glad that you're in the conduit making, downtown is beautiful, and that what are you doing beyond Shook's Run? What are we thinking about, beyond the end center, and that, and it's I know I'm annoying when I keep bringing that up, but also I grew up in an artless wasteland. I don't want to say wasteland. It's bucolic. It's fun. It's you got canopy trees, and it's quiet or whatever. It's not quiet. I hear the people dragging it.
The military base is out in Bellevue too, right?
Yeah. I mean, we'd have aircraft coming in, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like in Village 7, there's nothing. It is grocery stores.
No, and it never really has been.
No, there's the schools, there's trees, and there's like, but it's like, where's the art?
Yeah.
Outside of like the houses, and it's like, I'm going to be annoying about this because I want you guys to not keep piling on here. There's plenty of opportunities here too.
Yeah.
There's absolutely, like, there should be art from here to in every direction.
Yeah.
Create that sense of place. Michelle Winchell's talked about that. Right. Art on the streets and that. But it's like, let's get art out there.
Yeah.
And that's where that connectivity.
Yeah.
It's just so needed, but it's so hard.
Yeah. Well, I think it's culture, it's class too. So just like what I told you when I was managing that liquor store up by New Life Church, I had punk rock stickers and skate stickers on my truck.
That was before the Interquest boom.
Yeah, it was like there was but I mean,
New Life liquor store, nothing.
Yeah, now, and then you had a lot of those homes were being built now, which is like Great Wolf was just starting as concrete pad.
Yeah, it was sat there for a while.
Yeah, so it's like, that people see any bit of kind of, I don't know, what do you want to call it, culture, with the punk rock stickers and the music stickers and the skateboard stickers I had on my truck and leaving dirty notes on me, like calling me a liberal and like I'm stuck on stupid. So you deal with that aspect of it too. What is going to be the art that sells up there? I don't know. Christian art? Is it going to be landscape paintings? It's not going to be lowbrow art and like and all that stuff. I mean, downtown's full of all that stuff too.
Yeah, so is Goodwill.
Yeah, so it's good. Yeah, totally. So and that's kind of so we've been doing this thing. I don't kind of go off topic, but a friend of mine gave me a bunch of old. They would pick them up from Goodwill to replace these old shitty landscape painting and stuff. So I'm having the kids redo them.
I've seen those online, like people adding figures.
They're doing that, or they're just totally obliterating it, or doing stuff. So it's a good cheap, canvas or whatever. But like,
exactly.
So, I guess when we've been, I don't know. I've been in my head kind of calling it kind of like we're colonizing these art pieces, and not in the I don't feel it in a bad way, but like whatever. Somebody might argue that, but like
they left the painting, it's done.
Yeah,
it's yours now.
Yeah, it was in the trash or whatever.
It's
but
not like you're going down, Platt and like repainting over murals that are already in service.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think it just go, and it is. It's going back to that human nature. It's class wars and class this and like what's going to be successful up there. And again, it's like, okay, I'm not going to move Shutter and Strum up off of Voyager or anything like that. But
no one
would go up there.
Yeah,
and then
you'd have like 20 miles of parking lot.
Oh, and then I'd have imagine the notes I would get too.
God,
but like, what would you do up there? And it can be, but like, I don't even know. Are there art galleries? I don't know.
Ross Studios just opened up there.
Is that the one that Oric and them? Yeah. Okay.
That they're here, but I mean.
But he also, though, he's got a hustle. He's a framing guy too, right? I guess I don't know. I just see, So
I just saw that they just started that, and it's like, well, that's one.
Yeah,
because there's none on Powers.
No. I mean, if you get past, I don't know, what do you say?
Academy.
Yeah. And I know if people have tried.
Yeah.
But like, it's not gonna work, because it is. You have a certain class of people that live in those areas that, one, probably don't give two shits about art, and if they do, it's like I said, it's got to be a very, very specific demographic designed to them.
There was a couple of sites at Austin Bluffs and Academy. There was the old Chicago that got torn down. They're building a Wells Fargo there, and then there's a like mini strip mall there next to the food pantry that used to be a thrift store. Mm-hmm. It was like a marketplace, and the owner died or something like that, and they sold it. And I thought either of these would be great locations for an art gallery and like activity center or something. Have someone come in and curate it. And obviously one became Wells Fargo, the other one became another church. Yeah, and it's like, well, that's independent of your religion. It's like, we already have plenty of those. Yeah. Like, we need art in that.
Well, and that's the thing, too. Who can afford it? I don't know what the rent would be there. Yeah. Two is like, what kind of... I know somebody tried to do... There was an art, like, center or something back behind there where the old Cowboys used to be. And because that used to be the Rustic Hills area. That was called... When you grew up in Village 7, that was Rustic Hills. So they had... It was suburbia, but they had their big thing there was movies because they had 3 different movie.
Oh, like the drive-in theaters?
Well, they just had, they had movie theaters, not the drive-in. They had the drive-ins that were over off of, by where the Walmart is and then down in Widefield. But that was their culture was
movie theaters.
And then roller skating because the skating rink's still there. Both skate cities are still there.
Yeah.
So I don't know what my point, but I've never seen. Yeah, there's never been any kind of art like. I don't know who would go. Because again, it's downtowns are always the bohemian, hipster, trendy places.
Well, it's a park once, and then you walk around or something like that. Yeah. And I remember, the arguments around Nob Hill is. Plaque collections is a destination. You park once and you're there all night. Drinking whatever it is, but. And then maybe buy some art. Yeah. That's but no, I think you're right. It's you have to drive to anywhere along Academy in Austin Bluffs or, all that. That's a struggle. Even though bus train, but even that's.
No, nobody, not in a town like this, the public transportation doesn't matter to anybody.
Even though the most popular line runs through there, it's that's a tough argument. Yeah. No, but it's a struggle. Yeah. And so for the artists that are, and so Shutter and Strum, how's that doing?
It's good, man. I mean, we had a pretty good first year. We're going in October. It'll be our second year. Mm-hmm. New trials, tribulations, but it's been good. It's been a lot. I mean,
I know there's the foot traffic angle of it.
Yeah, there's that. And I was gonna say, I'm glad you said this. We're going into the Shutter and Strum. I was gonna say though, when we have our first Fridays and Garfield was kind of like that too. But people that go are invested in the art. It's not a bunch of people just drinking wine, standing in front of art where other people can't see it just to be seen. And people come there, are invested in the art, buy the art. We're not killing on that matter nor whatever, but but they're invested in the art because really, what is you can go. I mean, I guess you can pop the Platte, but I don't feel like we get a lot of people from Platte coming over. I don't know. But
seems like there could be some big arrows or something.
Or something, Yeah. And Zone 5, is kind of they're on the outskirts.
But I know they also don't do regular events.
No. So how it would be? I mean, Platte's down the street, but Zone 5 is kind of way over here. But But
next to the Maverick.
But
get your coolie and then come over. Or icy now. Yeah.
But no. What was I saying? No, but people are invested in the art. They're driving up there specifically for the artist. I hope for the vibe, but that's been good. Still working with the one school, popping in and out of different workshops with COS at different places like that. So it's there. It's here. I think going into our second year, we're all right. So
you're still afloat.
We're still afloat, and and things could I guess going back to what we talked about before, just the marketing thing and how to get more eyes on. And, and like I said, it is. I mean, I kind of thought being next to the record store, oh man, we got a lot of foot traffic from that. I have people come and go, oh, I didn't know you were over here. I've been to What's Up Record 1,000 times. Yeah. And in my theory, it goes back into we all live in our, not all of it, we live in our phones. We don't live we're not, being a photographer, I know what.
But that door's usually closed, even when you're inside.
Yeah, but there's signs and there's, we have an open sign. I mean, I could spray paint, so I'm going to have... So I've done a lot of different social experiments. Let's just put it that way. But anyways, it's that's all been good. It's all been good. I think good. We were applying for another grant. People are still little donations here and there, and so it's good, man. I can't complain by any means. I think it built faster than I thought. We had a couple bumps in the road with a shitty partner and blah blah blah. But I think we're doing all right.
That's good. Yeah. And there's you mentioned cliques earlier, but there's definitely the art scene nonprofit collectives that are you're all fighting for the same grants.
Oh yeah, we're all fighting for this part of the pie. You know, and So and I understand. I definitely understand. It's the hustle. But is there a way that we can fight together? I don't know. You know what I mean? I've talked to Muji about that a bunch and other people. But no, I think it's good. Like I said, if I had to rely on, because really, the Disruptor Gallery is an entity inside of Shutter and Strum. It's just part, just like the dark room, just like all that stuff, and it's a space for my intern former students to run the business, learn how to run a business, blah blah blah, and all that stuff too. But but like if I had to rely on that, I would have been closed a long time ago. So I'm thankful that we're a community art space or community art center of means. So. We're kind of outgrowing the space in a way, and
it does seem like it's getting tighter a little bit every time, because it's always you go down that hall and it's just kind of endless artwork, and it's so great to see. But it's like, okay, what if you want to do something,
So I've thought about that, and then some of it I put my art in there because I don't have any place to store, and it's usually in the back, or we have a semi-permanent guest artist. But like a lot of it too now has been like we have cubicles now with art supplies. I have a storage unit downstairs, and then behind us, Lou Cohen's our building opened the Bijou Studios over there, so we have the screen printing over there. So I don't know. I think just when it comes to affordability and working with Luke, I couldn't do it probably what I do anywhere else right now.
You're just in the spot.
And I love the location. I always wanted to be in Nob Hill because I talked to Muji a long time ago about that. And it's centralized. It's in a maybe an up and coming area, but it is still kind of seedy and kind of, I like that. I don't know, you know what I mean?
But they go through and they improve all that stuff, and then maybe people move in, and then then you get to the, again, like we were talking earlier, just now you've made it cool. You've removed the seedy stuff there, and now people are showing up, and the Family Dollar can't even stay here anymore.
And that's it. So like you go, so 5 Points is in the Rhino District is a perfect example. I used to take students for photo trips up there and photo shoots or photo walks, and so we're walking through the main area, and it's nice, and there's your 30-something with their kids, and there's art murals, and there's this, and then you go around the corner and it smells like piss or shit, and they're like, why does it do that? I go, well, that's gentrification, folks. So these people are not gonna go like, oh hey, they just built all this cool art stuff here, we're gonna move to Westminster now or whatever. You're just placing things, and then like you said, the mom and pop places generally probably close because of rents and taxes, unless it's owned by a local person. And then you got the Family Dollar that most people get their groceries there because you can't afford to go anywhere else. So so it's that give and take, and like I don't know, in a perfect world you'd learn how to balance it, but we don't live in a perfect world, So.
Well, I mean, thank God that like you didn't set up Shutter and Strum down here because
I couldn't. I thought about it, looked at a couple places, but I'm like, one, I don't want to be a downtown.
One of the
there's just enough, and they're all friends of mine and stuff like that. And I wanted to be more centrally located, and so I got the inspiration for some of Shutter and Strum, a lot of information from different places, but this place called the Bronx Documentary Center in the Bronx, New York. So this conflict photographers started this in need, knowing there was a need in the community for an art space or photography space, and so the youth could use it, and so could the community as a hub for creating and for getting kids off the street, whatever. So they opened that place too, and his partner ended up dying, and then he still had another big nonprofit. But so that was what I wanted. They were in more of a less. Less fortunate. I can't think right now, but a less fortunate area where you can have access to. You don't have to drive to downtown. Necessarily. You don't. Because you don't have the means to do it. Not because you can't. You don't want to. It's because the means aren't there. So we're centrally located. We're in a kind of, like I said, maybe up and growing area, but you do have 78% of the population are rentals. There's a lot of diversity when it comes to people's finances, from very low to barely just floating above water. So having that too, that was another reason. So I think it's kind of the reason, like with the Bronx Documentary Center was like that too. It's like they don't have to go to the city to go to places. They have a located place that's pretty easy to get to.
And that's like that colonize. It's like it's like we need people to colonize out there. And that's part of it. And you guys are right next to the Social Security office, so if you need to like get your cards, you gotta stop and make sure you make an appointment first though.
Right.
Found that out.
Well, and that's it. And it's like, and even then, I mean, and it's, so it's a class thing too. Cause like, I mean, especially in the world we're living, you got a great Mexican restaurants that are around there, but like, people are scared and and then
it's like, do I go out there at night? And it's fine. Like,
yeah, no, it's all good.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do we all work together? I'm just some white cis male older dude that like
in the middle of this
care and stuff,
yes.
but it's like you don't know that, and but and then you have there's the good old boys that still are around that area because it is like
they're the ones who the survivor.
They
survived.
And then I know the guy across the street at the place somebody told me he was a Colorado native. So it really is just about too. Or I've been guilty of like not reaching out too. Yeah. But it's usually like
But that goes to the 24 hours in the day thing. It's like God, I just want to sleep right now.
I don't want to go home. My wife's already pissed enough at me, or whatever. But
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I forgot where this.
But we were talking, but like just the idea of Nob Hill improving. Like you put in another crosswalk, right? Right between where you're at and where Vultures is at. People can get across safely. You put like a light or a signal or something like that. Like you just this is a tiny little thing, and and then if anything comes of Printers Parkway. And that, like, just the number of people, the excitement, the attention gaze over there, that, you need bike lanes over there. Like, come on.
No, I know. And, and do, like, like...
Even though you have those wide sidewalks, but whatever.
Well, right, but, like, still, like, what does that look like, Like, I don't know. I mean, me and my wife talked, just... when we're talking, like, they should just close down the middle of downtown, like a lot of cities are, like that. Because you're doing all those improvements. Why don't you close from... Bijou to Pikes Peak or something down and make it, but we're
pedestrianizing. No, absolutely.
So I think that'd be a great idea. But then you think about it, we're a city infrastructure for 100-something thousand people, and we're at what? 500,000,
400, just about 500.
So it's like, how do you do all that?
Well, what you do is you pave all the way to Kansas, and then you just build roads all the way out, and then you're good.
Well, my dad always said that Denver and Colorado Springs are going to meet, and they pretty much do, except there's some holdout areas because of families own these ranches. But I mean, a great grandson or great granddaughter with enough money thrown their way, they'll sell.
I remember was in 8th grade. My science teacher was like, "There eventually, from here to Cheyenne is just going to be one metropolitan.
It's going to be one metropolitan area."
But I look at like the UN projections of like, where our birth rate is kind of leveling out. The world's is going to be by 2100, and it's like, I don't think the city's actually going to get that much bigger. So let's take advantage of what's here.
Right.
Do the infill.
For sure.
Figure the shit out because we spent this city didn't need to go to Briargate, honestly.
Well, look at all the sprawl there is.
I know.
And then all the empty buildings there are.
Interquest is the worst because you have to draw there's nothing walkable about
Powers
it.
Goes all the way through up there now. And then I remember being a young kid where Academy was pretty much ended at the mall. Yeah. And there was one guy had a farm where Home Depot is, and now it's, I don't know, it's been built up there, but this guy fought. They fought to move him out of there and finally ran him out of there to build all that area.
Yeah, this is like a Citadel Crossing and that.
A dirt road after Galley maybe or something, And we skate these little ditches back there, So it's like, and then you again, I think the area by... the Citadel Mall and all those stuff. It's like all those empty buildings, and then we just build more, and you just build more, and you build more.
You could do so much with Nob Hill or even the Citadel. You can reinvigorate that entire. But I mean, that's
you could what do they call it? Redraw because the Urban Printers Home used to be Nob Hill, and then Tesla's was right on the other side of the skate park, and then they re-annexed everything. Yeah, and they kind of redline district a lot of stuff too. So,
Which hey, you stay over there.
So and a lot of it was probably redlining and stuff, anyways. But I mean, what if? What could we do?
But that could also reinvigorate Memorial Park in that too. We were down there for Labor Day, and gosh, getting it out of there was a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah, I know. I went from my house to Shutter, and it took me a long time. Usually it's a 10-minute drive.
Oh, yeah. I'm just going to walk.
That would be the thing with park in the neighborhood and then walk down or whatever. You know what I mean? But
maybe next time we'll just park at Shutter and Strum.
Yeah,
and just walk
and then
down
you can
there.
Cut it. So we're getting I don't know why it made me think, but we're getting a fence in between us and the Bijou studio or a gate. is, so we can. But yeah, it'd be easy just to walk over. But
do that. What's some cool Shutter and Strum stuff that's going on? Well, I guess this will be out in a while, but like, what do you see the future of? You're saying that you're kind of like, we're doing good.
Yeah.
We're here.
Yeah.
Maybe we're in a space, but like, what do you see? What would you see the future of that? And then also with the school boards and that, like, that could really twist, like, maybe we don't go invest in that and having kids go over to that Shutter and Strum thing.
Well, that's always a fear. Yeah. No, so, I mean, ideally, I think what I thought about it in the beginning would be, like, I get enough, get interns, like Lucy I have, and a couple of different people that run everything. They teach stuff, and I go out and beg for the money, and I, do kind of stuff. That's, like, way out there.
The socials,
that's way out there stuff. But, like, media stuff, we've been doing a lot of different, I've had a lot of, going back to that too, I've had a couple school districts reach back out to me again. Mm-hmm. So there's, thought in that, to that could be something. But again, it's like, do we want to, why do we want to support another thing or whatever? But there's, so having, work, and I kind of knew going into it, working with schools would be a little bit tougher, only for the fact there's too many chiefs, in the whole.
Yeah, you got to get.
There's a lot of
bureaucratic layers.
Yeah, and you just keep getting spun around to the same person.
Yeah.
And, the thing is what we've had good success with is like an alternative school, working with CASA and working with trying to build working back with. Getting kids that are coming out of institutions and places like that. So that was always the goal anyway. But like the school thing would be like, okay, they already have generated money. A lot of these other places don't. Like, how do we get, that's why we would do a scholarship or a reduced fee thing for, and I always, think about that anyways when I'm doing it. But like, if we do a scholarship, it's really, I'm just donating my time. But at the same time, I got to keep the rent going and I got to keep the door open. Or I
Money's
can't
got to
donate my
coming
time,
in.
And I hate the business part of everything, but your hands kind of forced. But no, we've been doing a lot of different noise shows, different. Adding different elements of art into it to making it more like, I've had people come in, man, reminds me of like the coast, or this reminds me of like a place I saw in San Francisco, or this is what Denver used to be, or we want that little niche, and then having to offer not just, just painting, just photography, adding more layers of it like that into it, getting more, like, again, trying to get more, and it gets the hours of the day or whatever, but like, reaching back out to all these different organizations, like, hey, we offer this, and this.
Follow up with the leads.
Yeah, follow up with the leads. You got your CRM. Knocking on doors. And kissing babies and shaking hands or whatever.
Strum, and I'm in the neighborhood.
So I'm like the one man show right now, but like finding an investor or a partner again that once somebody that's willing to get in the trenches and. But just kind of keeping moving, and I think we are moving forward. I think we're not stagnant and we're not moving backwards. But and I'm just an impatient person. I think so too. I think but I think as far as what we've done so far, it's been well. And other people I've talked about, like, that's pretty good, dude. Which is what it's rad. But
be thankful for what you have.
And I very much am. But like, then I got to explain it to my wife. Like, well, and it's gonna work out. And she's been supportive. But no, I just think just keep moving forward like we've been doing. Maybe future stuff is maybe buying our own place. Maybe. Upsizing a little bit.
Would you say in Nob Hill? It seems like that's just that's
I like
mission
that. I think I don't know where else I could do.
You could buy the Family Dollar, bro.
I know that. Yeah, dude. I really like
as soon as they're dead.
The property across the street from Vulture's, that 1995 car dealership.
Yes,
I love that property, man. But I'm sure,
but it looks small. I mean, the lot's fine.
Well, they have the lot, they have the thing, but then they have the two buildings behind. So I don't know, man.
That'd be cool.
Just wish. Well, so me and my wife had thought. We talked about doing certain things a long time ago, like opening a record store / coffee shop, and that's when
what's Right Records.
Well, vinyl was already dead. Like all my friends were closing their brick and mortar. Shows, so I've always like
sell CDs.
Maybe, well, that's what happened when I was working at record stores later on when the vinyl craze died. But I think maybe growing more into that, growing more into another place, a space, maybe even owning a space, or I don't know. And if maybe even way down the future, if it's doesn't work out here, going somewhere else with it, I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I did our walk for Carmen Line.
Yeah.
And you start at Acacia Park.
Yeah.
And you make it to the Citadel, and you just see the change.
Yeah, totally. Dude.
As you're coming out there along the residences and that, and it's like, this is prime real estate for renovation. You just gotta get some. It's right there.
Well, and that's kind of what they did anyway. I mean, you had downtown and everything's pushed, and as you push and push and push, you have an uphill, and then you have. And I grew up a lot in that area by the Citadel, Shelton and Fountain, and we called it Little Compton back in the day. We used to go to the Boys and Girls Club, and I used to break dance. But I was grateful because I hung out with so many diverse people. I wasn't, I was probably the white kid hanging out with the, I was, you know what I mean? So that's always been that too. So it's always, you just pushed out. And then what they've done now, they've gentrified, and what they do is, they build around the so-called ghetto, which is, we don't have a ghetto out here.
No.
So that's all they do. It's just like you squeeze like a bag full of clay and it just oozes out.
Yeah.
So, but
go somewhere.
Yeah, and, I mean, like you said, I think it's the developers. That's the thing, and
zoning,
and if we had mucho dinero, we'd be all right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then whatever, and getting the city's ear too about hey, this should be a thing.
Yeah.
So how Brian, how can we find Shutter and Strum? Like, where can we find your Instagram reels, all that stuff? Where can we find you?
So Shutter and Strum on Instagram is Shutter_and_Strum. Facebook is just Shutter and Strum. www.shutterandstrum.org is our website. owner@shutterandstrum.org is our email. And then just keep looking in, at Peak Radar.
Thank you for using Peak Radar.
Pikes Peak Bulletin, RXP, KRCC, where we do our advertising, and then keep an eye out for flyers. And if you ever at What's Left Records, we are next door. I promise you. You've been there a million times, and I didn't know you were there.
That reminds me of like Clerks. It's like, we're open. I promise.
Totally. Yeah, so and we're lucky again to we are next to What's Left Records and Black Sheep and Vultures.
It's literally the same building.
Yeah, so they're our neighbors, and that worked out that way, serendipitously. Let's just say. So me and Brian, we have a great relationship, and we do a lot of good things together, and that's again the community part of stuff. So that's how you can find us. We're at 2217 East Platte Avenue. We are kind of diagonal east of southeast of Black Sheep.
Yeah, and if you're coming eastbound from downtown, you see that mural.
Yeah, you'll see the Ian Stewart's mural of the big graveyard and the creature and stuff. So.
Yeah, he did the artwork downstairs, didn't he? Or in and around?
Yeah, he did it. He did the bathroom. He did the stage.
Yeah.
He has an art show actually right now. That's his opening tonight, him and Ross's, with Felicia and Mike. But yeah, going back to that too, I think we're going to do like a fun house. One of his murals in front of our door to get more pop the door more or something.
That'd be so dope.
So that's how you can find us, and we have volunteer options, intern options. If you want to make referrals, you want to invest, you want to angel, what do you call it? Angel donators or whatever.
The angel, be an angel.
Yeah, so we rely heavily on,
or if you just want to show up with a giant brown sack that's tied up with a dollar sign on it.
That, even art supplies to, music equipment to old cameras you have, whatever,
Yeah.
And that's what we try to offer too. Like if you're not just, as a student, you're not just coming and learning. If you really need a camera, you need a set of drums, or you need a bass, or you need a guitar, you need this, we'll provide you one if we have it. So.
Well, Brian, thank you for being able to cut some time out.
Yes, sir.
Come on our little program here and chat about town, man.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah. And so we come to the end. Wasn't that a great conversation? All of these this season have been incredible. 10 amazing conversations that we've had. By talking to these people and hearing about their successes and failures, and that we hear about Colorado Springs. It's not just me digging in. It's like, what's your childhood? Let's go from there. it is by you telling your story, living in Colorado Springs, being in Colorado Springs, you're also telling the story. You're a small part of Colorado Springs. And so that's sort of the point. That's sort of the point of having these conversations. It's the point of having the people on that I asked to have on. And it's all bittersweet that after most of a year of wrangling this, fundraising, getting your support, coordinating all the interviews, and editing all these, doing these bookends, all the graphics, cutting the reels, all that stuff, that's temporarily done. We raised just over $1,000. We made for 10 episodes, and I've had several people come to me and say, these are great, I'd love to be on the show. And trust me, I already have a list of people. I've had a list of people that I didn't get to bring on this season that I'd love to bring in for season 3. There are so many cool conversations, so many unique angles, so many things I want to expose to the world in my own little way. And so this is a show that is not about whatever temporary thing you're doing, which, as I've mentioned before, is not just the political campaign that you're running into, even though we've obviously had politicians on this show, but it's about setting down what you're selling right now and talking about you and the city. And I think that's where the magic is. You know, as I've said it before somewhere else, but it's like if I could have a Humans of New York style relationship where I interview every single person and hear their stories, and that would be so cool. But obviously, you know, it takes a lot of time to put these together, even as is. So what's next? So for right now, the immediate, like if you're listening to this and you're hearing this, it's obvious that you have been paying attention to the show, what's going on. Maybe some people are just letting this run as they're doing something else, but this is the time where we talk about the show. This is where we say, hey, there was this podcast I listened to, here it is. This is, oh, here's this person and what their story is. Listen to this. You know, this is about getting the word out, and not just on a per listen basis, or in the sense of just boosting numbers so that, you know, it's exposed to more people, but just like the value of what each individual episode is. And so that's another angle is who I invited to the show, and the conversations we had was, I want these to be episodes that will still be meaningful months, years, maybe even decades down the road, like evergreen content. So that was sort of the point of avoiding a lot of topical stuff, a lot of topical discussions, this and that. So the goal then, season 3, what's season 3 then, right? Good question. I'm so glad you asked. So there will be, the tentative plan is a fundraiser in the new year, probably February-ish. So enough of a break to get some other projects that I've had kind of sitting aside, put those together. Maybe if I didn't do reels next time around. And this is also the great time to suggest things or whatever you want to see in a new episode besides you in front of the camera. Like what stories do you feel need to be told? You know? So the fundraiser will be in February for a season 3. This is a community funded podcast. It really is. Like, it happens in large part due to community funding, but also in large part due to just being a labor of love. Lots of hours cranking away, getting things recorded like this very moment. And so the next season, we're going to shoot for 20 episodes minimum. Not 10 like this, at least 20, so that we can do a huge heaping amount of conversations. It's early days, but I also want to change out the ad spots, which no one bought after the initial campaign anyway, and replace those with partnerships. So if you have a campaign or a cause or a company and you want to get the word out about that, that's the place to put it. And it will be relatively cheap compared to ad rates pretty much anywhere else, but it will also help fund the show and ensure that they're seen. It's a virtuous cycle thing. It's pretty dope. So the other big thing is that it will be a much bigger thing. The ask for 20 episodes and recalibrating how much it costs to produce each episode, because again, this is a much bigger labor of love than I anticipated. Lots of people volunteered their time to produce the show. It's going to be a bigger ask because people have needs. And so that's something to look forward to. It's a danger of that kind of thing, but I think people find this valuable, and if we can do 20 or 30 or 40 more, hell yeah, let's do it. Or maybe if someone still wants to step in and donate that way. So stay tuned. Tell me what you want in the show. Tell me what's important about Colorado Springs. And I think that's all we got. Just keep your eyes open. And I will absolutely see you around. I'm going to be in events in and around Colorado Springs. I'm always in and around everywhere, talking about this, advocating for that, information all the time. And hey, I want to emphasize, because I don't think I've emphasized it enough, but thank you for your support in making this happen at all. Thank you for your support in previous episodes we've had and future episodes that may happen. You have been amazing. Thank you for listening to these conversations, watching these conversations, interacting with these conversations, and even liking these conversations like to others. It's pretty great. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You mean a lot. Thank you. Yeah, let's get out of here. Love your family, love your friends, love your city, free Palestine, and let's wrap up season 2 here with a plunge one last time into the credits. Badly needed and long overdue, is part of the Studio 809 Community Podcast Network. These interviews are recorded at Studio 809 in the Next Us, a professional cooperative environment for small businesses in downtown Colorado Springs. Be sure to check out all the other fine podcasts at studio809podcasts.com, where you can find your new favorite local podcast. This show is produced by myself and Dave Gardner, with video directed by Dave Gardner. Show music is by Injection Site Reaction. Thank you guys. I'd like to give a thank you to Catherine Chukas and Ken Schauer, and a special thank you to Kelly Karnetsky for helping fund this second season of BNLO on Indiegogo.